What if enlightenment wasn't a distant dream, but a reality you could experience now? Not a journey, not a lifetime of searching, but instant and permanent enlightenment, right here, right now. I Am Divinity is the birthplace of a new era in human consciousness. We are not just a movement, we are the pioneers of instant and permanent enlightenment. Through our revolutionary practices like divine focus, we guide you to your ultimate truth, the realization that you are divine. This isn't a fleeting moment of clarity, it's a lasting state of higher consciousness. Together, we are raising humanity's vibration from 210 to 700 and beyond. We are awakening the world to the truth that consciousness is the new currency. This is your moment to awaken, to transform, to become enlightened. Are you ready to step into your divinity?
Hi there, my name is Jamie Devine. Welcome to I Am Divinity.
Here at I Am Divinity, what we do is we help you unlock your inner power.
So that's what we're doing. Don told me his vision of raising humanity's consciousness to the level of 700 on the scale, enlightenment.
That's the power.
Imagine how healthy our communities will be.
Like they're so pure and so powerful.
Hello, dear listener. Have I got a story for you today? Now, I'm sure everybody listening knows about a New Year's resolution. Okay? Well, I got a couple that I'm going to twin together for you. Because many people, New Year's resolutions don't work. But I'm going to tell you something that does work. It's been 50 years today since I had a cigarette smoke. And it has been 45 years today since I had a drink of alcohol or took drugs. Would you say that worked? Okay? Well, I'm saying it worked. And so, how did it all happen? Well, let's start with my first one. So my first one was quitting smoking. Yeah, quitting smoking. So I was a milkman at the time, delivering milk to houses in Calgary. And the vehicle that I drove, it had a sliding door. It had a sliding door. And, it had all these cases of milk in the back. And I would, I tried numerous times to quit smoking. Numerous times. And, an example, I would be, I'd be craving a cigarette. Now, the key about these resolutions is that the cause isn't dealt with. The cause isn't dealt with. Not even remotely close. Not at all. So here I was, just making a decision to quit smoking. Done. And I still went to the bars. But one of the things, coming back to this truck with the sliding door, this milk truck, I'd have half a pack gone or a third of a pack gone. I'd say, okay, that's enough. And I'd throw that out onto the road, into the ditch or whatever. And then the next day I go and buy another pack of cigarettes. So I never once, not once in all the time that I tried to quit smoking, have any success. Have any success. It was just kept coming back, kept coming back, kept coming back. Why? Because I was so anxious. I was so insecure. I was so fearful. I was all of those and more. And not dealing with any of it. Not dealing with any of it. So here was the smoking the cigarettes, and to cover up this fear, this unbelievable fear. And there, I had tons of, like, absolutely tons of fears. So all of a sudden now I'm just throwing the cigarettes out. Now I don't have any mask. I don't have any protection. I don't have anything. And the next thing I know, I'm back smoking again. So I did that for, I think, 4 or 5 years. Finally, this one day, 50 years ago, made the decision. That's it. It's final. I'm doing it. And I did. And I never picked up a cigarette again for 50 years. Tonight, midnight. And it's midnight in Philippines. So, so yeah, that was the smoking. And to give you an idea of how it almost cost me my life. Now, it sounds pretty strange. How could quitting smoking cause you to lose your life? Well, here's an example. Now, remember, I never looked at any symptoms when I quit either one of those, alcohol or drugs, or cigarettes. So one day, we were like a block and a half, or 2 blocks away from a store. We lived in Calgary, and my wife Wilma went to the store to get something. She was about a third of the way back, and I shouted to her, "Hey, Wilma, did you get me a pack of cigarettes?" I said, "No, you don't know how to. You want to quit? You want to keep smoking? You go damn well and get your own cigarettes." Now, I'm sure most of you have seen those aluminum doors. Ones that one will slide up to the top, and there's one up at the top. I'm sure you've seen them. And I said, "You rotten bitch." And I went, boom, smashed through one door, glass, smashed through the second one, and first one cut me all across here. 18 stitches across here and I'm sitting there in complete shock, watching the blood go like this. Now, what was a saving grace was that the ambulance was 2 blocks away. And they came and they were accusing me of suicide attempt and all of those kind of things. But it didn't matter. I knew what I did. And so that's how close I came to dying from cigarettes. But it wasn't from the cigarettes. Some secondary cigarette. Yes. So now the other one was alcohol. And remember, never did a personal development, anything. Didn't know how to spell the words, let alone deal with the causes of these. The causes of them. So 5 years later, midnight comes along, just like the last one. At midnight, I was smoking a cigarette down to the last till it hit 12 o'clock. Then I put it down. Never had one since. Now the second one, 5 years later, I'm quitting drinking and drugs. Now, this was a little more painful because there was lots of things going on. And especially when I got a chance, I was living in Calgary, but I had an opportunity to work in Banff. So I was a plumber pipe fitter. And so I put boiler rooms together. That was my specialty, with a welder. I'd have a welder welding, I'd fit for the welder, I had the measurement, all that kind of stuff. And so I was doing that up in Banff, in Alberta. And And there was, I think, 4 or 5 guys in this big house. And we're all staying there because everybody was drinking and everything, all that kind of stuff. And so one day, one evening, I should say, somebody washed the dishes. Now, what's that got to do with drinking? Well, I'll explain. I'll explain that. Remember, New Year's resolution to quit drinking. And so here we are. We're all in the kitchen. And on the kitchen counter, somebody had washed the dishes. And they put them on this towel, small towel, the dishes. And I was always a show off to begin with, but especially when I was drinking. But this wasn't when I was drinking, it was just show off. Trying to get attention, get everybody laughing. And so what happened was, I grabbed the towel. Now it's full of knives and forks and glasses and like everything on this towel. And I just go whoosh, and nothing fell. Nothing fell. Not one item fell. Now I had done that numerous times. Here I just, half wasted and just, and so now come later, we are working, and now all of us are drinking and doing drugs, that kind of thing. And we're at this big party that the owner of the company, Sando, plumber and pipe fitters, and we were at another party, only it was at a hotel. And everybody was drinking, and I don't know if you've ever seen the really big tables, like the really big tables, probably 12 feet wide around. Everybody was drinking all night, and they didn't take the glasses away. They didn't take the drinks away. And it was just full. Okay? And now the boys are saying, come on, Don. Come on, bud. Like, do that towel trick. Do that towel trick like you did at the condo. And I was pretty wasted at the time. And my wife is beside me, and she's trying to get me to sit down and trying to get me to stop, trying to get me to act my age. And I got up and I gave that whole tablecloth just one whoosh, and there wasn't one glass or one drink moved all night. They just kept bringing more and more. So if you can imagine how many glasses and drinks were on that table. And I gave it this just gigantic boom. And not one drink fell. One empty glass, but no drinks. And all of a sudden, I had this tap on my shoulder. The tap on my shoulder was from the owner's wife. She said, I was watching you make a fool of yourself. And I'm telling you, I would have got my husband to fire you on the spot had one drink fell. That's so that was one example. Now let's go to the next Christmas party, which was in Calgary. And I was drinking all night, and it was in November. And that was 44. So anyway, 44 years ago. And my wife was trying to get me to quit drinking all night. So I was, once again, free food, free booze, and I was drinking like crazy. And anyway, she tried to get me to quit, and I said, no way, as long as there's alcohol here, I am staying. Anyway, about 2 o'clock in the morning, I said, okay, honey, time to go home. I threw her the keys. We had a 3/4 ton 300, 350 Ford truck. And I threw her the keys. I said, "Here, honey, you drive." And she said, "No, you don't handle your liquor. You drive." And she threw them back at me. I said, "Come on, bitch." And out the door we go, screaming and yelling at each other. Get in the truck, drove all the way across Calgary to where we lived, and screaming and yelling at each other, hitting each other as I'm driving on the Trans-Canada, and get home, and the kids get up, and I scream and yell at them, and I drove the babysitter home, and all of those kind of things. And the next morning, I'm sitting at the kitchen table. Thinking, let's get this over with. Let's get this over with. Because all I could think of was the terror in my beautiful little kid. This raging alcoholic. And I knew my neighbor had a shotgun in the square. How can I get in there? How can I get in there to blow this off my shoulder? That's what I was looking at. Wasn't, well, I think I'll quit drinking today. No. It was, how can I get in Leanie's garage to get his shotgun to blow my head off? That was me quitting drinking. And I haven't had a drink since that night. And so it is possible. One of the biggest things that, that I had all this insecurity, all all these fears and all these phobias and all of these everything, anger and the rage and bitterness, hostility. I had it all. So to quit something, not look at that, is for the most part a disaster. And there was things that prevented me. There was things that prevented me from slipping, and there was things that allowed me to really have an unbelievable experience. And so one of them was, I was sitting at the intersection of, I believe it was Center Street and 16th Avenue in Calgary, and opposite the Beacon Hotel. Now, here I am. I think it was about 2 months sober at that time. And now I'm not, when I look over and I see the Beacon Hotel, I'm not looking at, I'm never going back there. I'm never going, no. It was like, do I turn right? Do I turn left and go behind the Royal Bank, the park? Or do I turn right, go in behind the building that's attached to the bar? So that's what I'm thinking. Okay, that's what I'm thinking, is how do I park to go into the bar to have a drink? There was an 18-wheeler behind me, blew the air horn, scared the shit out of me, and I took off. And I never drank. And like I said, I have not taken a drink or a drug or a smoke. Oh, and the other close call was I was working at building the Calgary airport. And what had happened was I had been going to trade school. And so I was in trade school for 4 months, getting my third and fourth year certificates. And anyway, I was the biggest thing was that I ended up working at the airport, building the airport, and it was the whole idea was like I was so good at what I did, like putting boiler rooms together. Seriously, like putting boiler rooms together, but I still had all this insecurity and everything. Still had all this insecurity and fears and phobias and all of those. And so that's why it's kind of dangerous to just quit something unless you deal with why you're doing them. Like I was smoking 2 to 3 packs of cigarettes a day. A day. A day. Yes. So like that's how anxious I was. I was so full of anxiety and whatever. And yeah. And I was trying to cover it up with some form of mood altering chemical. And that's why most of them don't work, because it's not dealing with the cause. And lo and behold, that the Christmas one, I'm sitting at the kitchen table the next morning. Okay, the next morning, I'm thinking about my neighbor that has a shotgun in his Finley. I'm sitting there thinking about how I could get in the garage, blow my head up. That's what I was thinking. All I could think of was the rage, the fighting with my wife, Wilma, and the look of terror on my two beautiful Shelley and Trevor's eyes. I can't cause this kind of. That's okay. Try to get in that garage. Just at that time, coincidentally, a friend of Wilma's husband was in AA. Happened to call. Said, "Hey, Don, going to an AA meeting. Would you like to come?" I said, "Yeah, no, not really. I'll be right over." And he came and picked me up and took. And there's one piece that's pivotal in my having 45 years today drinking and 50 years no. Here's one of them. So there was a Franciscan retreat house outside towards Cochrane, towards Banff, and it was a Franciscan retreat house. And I was now doing my steps in I was starting to go to AA meetings. I promised my wife, so that was how I was going to get rid of all this guilt and shame that I was carrying. And okay, I'll go. I'll go to please everyone. And so I went, and anyway, after one, I started doing the steps with my two sponsors, Mike and Merle. Mike just died here about 2 weeks ago, and Merle's celebrating his 50th. They're both in Calgary. Oh, yeah. And anyway, it was, there was a fourth and fifth step. So you write out your fearless moral inventory. So now I'm looking at all of this stuff that was driving me all this time. All of this time. You know, their anger and the rage and the bitterness and the not good enough and not smart enough and not anything enough. Not anything enough. That externally referenced identity. Okay? And so the next thing is this fourth and fifth step. So I do this fourth step, and I had 28 pages of toxic energy written page per page. And now you have to tell somebody. So my one sponsor, Mike, got me lined up with this Father Paul out in Cochrane, Alberta, the Franciscan Retreat Center. So I went there. Now I grew up in Catholic, rigid Catholic. Sunday, go to church every Sunday, go to confession every 2 weeks, say the rosary every evening. Like it just went on and on and on and on. Taught by nuns, taught by priests, like, yes, it was just nonstop. And anyway, so here I am, 28 pages written, and I'm heading to Cochrane to meet this Father Paul. And I have as much shame as the Rocky Mountains. That was what this all was about. This guilt and shame. So I could never do anything effing right, ever. You know, I was strapped almost every day in school. I was so stupid. So all of that, that was all underneath. That was what this stuff bubbling up was about. Okay? And so here I am heading to Cochrane to do this fourth step, fifth step. Fourth is writing it out, fifth telling somebody. So here I am, meet this Father Paul. I start reading these 28 pages. And the shame is so thick, so thick, it'd be like the walls, the doors of a vault in a bank. That's how thick the shame and the guilt was. Okay, Roman Catholic, can't do anything right. Got that one? And if you can't do anything right, it's a sin. Either venial or mortal, and most of them are mortal, from what I was told. So that's what I was carrying. So now I have this just unbelievable truckload of shame to tell this Father Paul. Now, why don't I just keep driving, like into the Rocky Mountains where nobody will find me? Anyway, I go there, and I ended up meeting Father Paul. Sat down, and I started reciting these 28 pages. I'm waiting for him to tell me to get the hell out of his office, that he had never heard such filth in his whole life. Because that's what I grew in. Anyway, as I'm finishing the last page, Father Paul stood up, stood me up, said, I have never heard such amazing, I forget what the word was, but it'd be like a confessional. And you are absolutely beautiful. That lasted 3 months, those words that he said. And that is what I went back to when I went to do my New Year's resolutions, remembering what that kind of thing. And I tell you, for 3 months, I was on cloud 909, not cloud 9, especially because it was a priest that said it, which meant more than anyone else to me because of my upbringing. And yeah, and it was crazy, amazing. My whole life totally transformed. And so it was that really helped me with my never having another drink, 45 years. Never having another smoke, 50 years. Amazing, actually. No intention of starting. None. No cravings, none. But the biggest thing is, and that's what our process is. That's what the I am divinity is to be able to clear up all of that toxic energy, all of that not good enough and the not worthy, and because those are externally referenced identities, not true ones, but created by you, which are externally referenced. Not good enough, not worthy, I'm not deserving, I'm not loved, I'm bad, all like la 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 la. That's why we're not able to hold them. So whole idea behind this is similar to what that is, and just popping that emotional boil that it's all created. And I created this double sound technique that once that's burst, enter the double sound technique, and lo and behold, you're in the state of mind bliss. And people have kept it for months. Yes, one right after the other. It's such a powerful energy, and whole lives change. like whole lives change. Now they're not always for the better. Sometimes people break up because they were so much, like this, and now they don't want to be in that chaos, and some don't, spouses don't always do the same work, and so there are a little bit of pitfalls, and yeah, I remember one of my close calls. I had called my drinking buddies that were in Banff. I called two of my drinking buddies because I was having a New Year's resolution. No intention of drinking. No intention of drinking. A New Year's resolution. And I called, and it was Brian, and I forget what his brother's name was. And I said, "Hey, Brian, I'm having a New Year's resolution, a New Year's party at my place on Thursday. Would you like to come?" Yeah, Don, are you still not drinking? Yeah, actually, Brian, yeah. Because remember, we drank together for 2 years. Brian and Carl and I. Yeah, Brian and Carl were brothers. So we were together 2 years building these projects. He said, "So are you going to have booze at your place on at your party?" Yeah, no, Brian, but feel free to take your own if you want. To tell you what, Don, don't ever bother calling me again. Goodbye. Hung up. That was it. That was a shock. That was a shock. It's like, here's my buddies that I've been with for 4 years. And because I chose not to drink, he never wanted to have anything to do with me. So there's those kind of shocks. And I know they're not all drastic like mine for New Year's resolutions of quitting something. But let me say that they are for the better, for sure. So there you have it. It was, it's been quite a journey, actually, to say the least. And the one thing that I do with people that take my IAMDIVINITY process is do this clearing up of the programs, so these programs aren't stopping you from moving forward, being in your divine light. That's what it's about. So, and I found, ways that are non-threatening. Let's put it that way. Non-threatening for that. So, like I said, those are two really large milestones. 50 years for not smoking, and 45 years for not drinking and not drugs. And my buddy Merrill, who lives in Calgary still, he's celebrating his 50 years of not drinking today. Yeah. So anyway, it's highly possible. Love to see you experiment with your New Year's resolution of being in your divinity. That's what this is. Be in your divinity. Yeah, that absolutely best version of you without needing a mood altering chemical of any sort whatsoever. That's what I'm talking. That's it right there. Okay? So let's there's a lot of awesomeness out there for you to experience, to say the least. And I encourage you to give it some serious thought of this. We'll call it a New Year's resolution, but it's a call of shifting into your highest consciousness. That highest consciousness, unbelievably powerful. Totally. Unbelievably powerful. Amazing. Yeah. So I encourage you to Make a New Year's resolution with the idea of you finding your light. Yeah, finding your light and getting rid of the dark. Because the darkness, all that darkness was the ego. That's what that was. All the darkness was the ego messing with me. Messing with me. Trying to stop me. Trying to, like Dad was in the war. He was on a battleship, the HMCS St. Thomas. And they sunk the first Russian sub they didn't even know possible. And as much of a valor that was, he come home with post-traumatic stress. And you were going to die. Everything you looked at, touched, seen, acted on, whatever, you were going to die. The house was going to burn down. Somebody's going to come in and shoot us. And actually, there was an event like that. Funny, we lived out in the country, and it's called Fort Augustus on Prince Edward Island. And there was 10 kids, mom and dad, plus mom and dad. And we used to have the front door open. We were 12 miles out of town. I don't know what that is in kilometers. And anyway, this one Sunday, we're all in the front room, just relaxing, enjoying after going to Mass and Sunday church. And there's nut bar half a mile up the road. Come in, front door, with a gun in his hand. His name was Donnie McKinnon. Said, I am going to shoot every one of you. Okay? That's what he said. Now, there's no exaggeration here. The only thing might be different is a few of the words might not be exactly, but pretty darn close. And he said, I'm going to shoot each and every one. And everybody, including Dad, hid except Mom, and I was standing beside Mom. The Mom was ferocious. When she got mad, there wasn't a person around that wasn't afraid of her. And he started pointing the gun, and Mom just made a lurch for him, grabbed the gun out of his hand, put it to his head, and said, you get F out of here. Mom doesn't curse. Get the F out of here, I'll blow your head off. And don't you ever step foot in our place again. That's what we grew up in. So Dad had all this post-traumatic stress, and you were going to die from this, and you're going to die from that, and you were going to die from... And so, like, it's almost like, what was the New Year's resolution? I know what I'll do. I'll give up fear. Give up fear. Because that's the ego. Fear is the ego. Yeah. It does everything, keep you afraid, so you keep playing, or you go the other way and just smash. So, be able to resolve all that, be able to walk away from that drama and chaos, you name it. And to walk into peace and harmony, find guidance and assurance, and everything is like, it's like wow, this has got to be what heaven looks like and feels like. It's got to be whatever anybody told you or told me. Yeah, and it was pretty actually. Amazing, the transformation that can happen, and I've seen does happen. And one of the things is to, do a similar what I did as far as looking at your programs and patterns, and then deciding if they are helpful or harmful, and then letting them go. And yeah, so that's how I was able to not smoke for 50 years and not have a drink or a drug for 45 years. That's how. That's how I did it. People go to lose weight and they thing, 5 pounds later, and it's like, yeah, no. It's so, the New Year's resolution has got its pros and cons, and it certainly worked for me. Let me tell you. But it's not a cakewalk. That's for sure. But it's highly, highly, highly possible, for sure. So all the very best in whatever your decision is. But I do know one thing. This I am divinity that was created a lot out of my growing up and all of the toxic energies and whatnots and fine-tuning and fine-tuning and fine-tuning and fine-tuning to have this razor sharp, boom, this is what this is. This is what it looks like, and everyone on the planet can have it. All that's needed is for the willingness to let go of the programs and patterns of who you're not, so you can fully embrace who you are. And that's it. So you have yourself a magnificent new year. A new year. That new year can be new to you in your divinity. And I encourage you to do that. For sure. You can call it a New Year's resolution, or you can call it the best decision you ever made in your life. Up to you. So you take care. It's a pleasure. I trust you enjoy it. Bye for now.